Good morning, soldiers. This is Sergeant Merrill, and today we continue our Week of the Scars. We check out the HAMR Infantry Automatic Rifle in Black Ops 2. So not everybody knows it. The HAMR, which is listed as a light machine gun in Black Ops 2, is actually a variant of the SCAR. And what's interesting is that it has kind of a relationship with the M27. And it's not a good one because these guys were both going for the same job. A couple years ago, the United States Marine Corps was looking to replace the M249 for the automatic rifleman position. And the M27, which is made by Hector and Koch, is the weapon that came out on top. So it's interesting that we see this weapon in Black Ops 2 because right now it doesn't have a home. And it might not continue to see production if it doesn't find one. But it doesn't make it not an interesting weapon. This does have some very unique features that any military would be happy to have, including its ability to manage barrel heat during sustained fire, which was a problem for the M249. I mean, you would just watch that thing glow red after firing about 200 rounds of sustained fire through it. So that's a very interesting feature with this weapon, and it's also shown very interestingly in Black Ops 2, considering that the first, I believe, 6 to 9 rounds fire much faster than the other. And I'm not sure if that is the way it fires in real life. I didn't find any information that would suggest that, and I've certainly never fired the weapon myself. But it is interesting because it does result in some pretty interesting sustained fire in game, where the first couple rounds fire at 900 rounds per minute, I believe. I wasn't able to find specific statistics on that, but I do know that sustained fire after that results in 625 rounds per minute, which is interesting. It kind of makes it share a relationship with the AN-94, whereas the AN-94 fires its first 2 rounds at like 1100 rounds per minute. And the rest are significantly less. But the AN-94 has a very specific reason for doing that. Whereas with this one, I kind of think that it's not realistic. Maybe someone with more experience with the HAMR can help me out, but I don't think that it actually in real life fires the first few rounds faster. But another thing that bugged me, and I'm showing you up here close on some of the details on the side of the weapon, it says that it's chambered in 7.62 by 51, which is completely inaccurate because the HAMR actually fires 5.56. Now I can go down the rabbit hole of this is a futuristic game, maybe in the future they create a HAMR that fires a 7.62. But I would really argue that it goes against the purpose of the weapon, which is to be in the automatic rifleman's role, which he needs to be mobile and he needs to have accurate sustained fire, which isn't as possible with the 7.62 as the 5.56. So I think they made a mistake here. And it's not the only one. I mean, the HAMR also has a deeper handguard, and it also has 3 different fire modes, not just 2, which I think they may have pulled from the civilian version of the SCAR H model that they had in the game, which was also the civilian version. But that's not a huge deal. I can still believe that they intended for this to be the HAMR. Now in game, I gotta go ahead and get this out there. I'm not a fan of the LMG concept in Black Ops 2. I feel like you're too slow. I'm a little bit of a mobility freak. I'm a speed freak. I gotta move. I gotta be mobile. And the LMG's already put me at a disadvantage in that regard. And what really bugs me about it with this weapon is that was the purpose of the United States Marine Corps replacing the M249 and calling out for all these manufacturers to come up with a replacement, is because they needed those people to be more mobile than they currently were. So the fact that you're just as sluggish with this weapon as you are with, let's say, the LSAT is a problem for me, considering that the only thing that is making this weapon more heavy than your average assault rifle is the 75 round drum on there. And to that I say, let me get rid of that 75 round drum, put a 30 round magazine in there, and give me the mobility of the assault rifle class. Because aside from how sluggish it is a jack of all trades weapon. Those first few rounds that come out significantly faster make you actually pretty decent in close range, much more effective than some of the other LMGs. And then when it slows down, you become very accurate at a distance, which is pretty fun to play because if you can ride the recoil, if you can ride that bull for the first couple shots, you're going to become significantly more accurate afterward. So if you don't take them down in that first wild ride of recoil, you're definitely going to be able to take them down once it calms down and settles, which, like I said, really makes for some interesting gameplay. Definitely unique to the Call of Duty series, and definitely a unique type of gameplay because you do become a lot more effective in close range as well because of how fast those first few rounds come out. So the first few rounds, it's very clear, were meant for close range, and the sustained fire was meant for long range. It really is an interesting thing. I had a lot of fun playing with this weapon. So when it comes to what perks and attachments I would recommend, you got to consider all the rough edges that come with an LMG. You're going to have worse hip spread, you're going to aim down the sight slower, you're going to move slower, you're going to reload slower. You know, you got to keep all those things in consideration when you're thinking about what perks and attachments you're going to use, and just kind of pick which ones bug you the most. So for me, not being able to aim down the sights quickly is a problem, so I picked that, but you can't make this weapon what it isn't. You're never going to be able to rush with this weapon. You're just too god-awful slow. You are definitely meant for a defensive position. Now, in this, I know, I'm using the target finder, but I wanted you to see how this weapon shines at sustained fire, and also how the rapid fire at the beginning makes for some pretty interesting engagements once they start to get a little closer. And you can actually tap it, kind of like you do with the AN-94, to keep that rapid fire going. But still, you're never going to be able to rush with this weapon, and I would choose those attachments that kind of help you do what it's good at, which is this defensive role. I'm not encouraging people to use the target finder, but it did work well. I would actually also encourage the laser for when they do get in close, because that rapid fire at the beginning does work really well. The only thing that's holding it back, I think, is a significantly worse hip fire of the LMG class. So all in all, it's a very interesting weapon. It's definitely unique gameplay, unique to the Call of Duty series. And if you're a fan of SCAR or FN Herstal, you're definitely going to appreciate the weapon, because I think we're looking at something that is going to cease production in the next couple of years, unless it finds a serious home, because the military was supposed to order like some 7,000 units, and that didn't happen for them. So this weapon is very much in danger. It may not be the best weapon in Black Ops 2, but it's certainly interesting and worth a try if you're looking for something different. But that's all I have for this video. I hope you learned something new about the HAMR and the SCAR platform, and I hope you enjoyed this. Look out for the next SCAR video coming out tomorrow, back to Battlefield 3 for the SCAR L. But that's all I have for this video. This is Sergeant Merrill, out here.